Make no mistake about it, we're at war. And for most of us, that doesn't mean bullets or blood and guts. But it does mean that we daily fight for our families, for our faith, and for our freedom. And if you think those things aren't in danger these days, then maybe your eyes just aren't open wide enough yet. Because we are at war. Ephesians 6:12 puts it this way: "For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places." That makes it pretty clear. Recently, our Secretary of War, Mr. Pete Hegseth, now you may not like him, you may have heard some bad things about him, and he'd be the first to admit that he's made some mistakes in the past, but he's worked really hard to try to redeem those same mistakes. He's given his life to Christ, and he's tried to turn his life around in every way possible. He's gotten married. Again, he's got a beautiful family. Just last week, he addressed over 800 high-ranking military officials, generals, admirals, you name it. In the address, he was trying to restore an ethos to the American military once again, one that he had perceived that we have lost, and if you're paying attention, you realize he's probably right. And so this episode is going to be me playing some clips of that and giving you some commentary about how we can apply some of the things that he talked about in his address to our own daily personal lives.
Good morning and welcome to the War Department. Because the era of the Department of Defense is over.
This isn't just talk for him. If you know anything about his history, you know he has served in active duty military. So this isn't just something he's saying. This is an attitude he's trying to restore to the American military and to the American people in general as well. He's calling all of them, and by proxy, all of us, to take an aggressive, offensive stand against the evil that we see in the world, against apathy, compromise, and comfort. He goes on to talk about the reason why we fight. And it's not for bloodlust. It's because we love our people. It's because we love our country. It's because we love the American spirit that we're all trying to live by. And that peace that we all want, it doesn't come by just sitting around. It doesn't come by wishful thinking. It comes by action.
Preparing for war and preparing to win. Unrelenting and uncompromising in that pursuit. Not because we want war. No one here wants war. But it's because we love peace. We love peace for our fellow citizens. They deserve peace, and they rightfully expect us to deliver it. The president talks about it all the time. It's called peace through strength. And as history teaches us, the only people who actually deserve peace are those who are willing to wage war to defend it. That's why pacifism is so naive and dangerous.
That's a warning to all of us. Peace and love is what we actually want. We want to be able to just live our lives on a daily basis without worrying about people messing with them, whether they're foreign or domestic. But we don't get there by just sitting around. We have to have the strength to be able to protect what it is we have and take ground where we need to take ground. And that may sound like violence, that may sound like anger or aggression, but that really is love. Peace through strength. Jordan talks to men about the idea of being a beast, but being able to keep that beast under control. This next part is where people really started to take offense to what he was talking about. They didn't quite get it, but if you listen closely, I hope you will.
To challenge us, they will be crushed by the violence, precision, and ferocity of the War Department. In other words, to our enemies, F-A-F-O. If necessary, our troops can translate that for you. Another way to put it is peace through strength, brought to you by the warrior ethos. And we are restoring both. As President Trump has said, and he's right.
See? Peace through strength. That line, I hope it gets you right here. Because especially as men, we need to know that the best way to protect ourselves and the best way to protect our families is by being able to demonstrate that we have the capacity to do so. Being that beast, but having it under control. There's another old line that I've heard. It's an old proverb that says, would you rather have a warrior in a garden or a gardener in a war? You see, that gardener isn't prepared for the war, but he's been put there because he has to be. And chances are he's not going to fare real well. But that warrior that's decided to go back and engage and build that garden, he still has the capacity to go to war. He still has the ability to do that, but he's chosen not to. And that is the essence of peace through strength. Does your family feel at peace? Does your job feel at peace? Does your neighborhood feel at peace? Well, if it doesn't, maybe it's time to put on a little bit of that strength. But the thing is that we can't just rest there. You see, we have to be able to put all of this into action. And in going through this speech, I identified 5 key principles that Mr. Hegseth talked about that we can apply to our own lives. A couple that we've already talked about. Number 1 is that we stop playing defense. Number 2 is peace through strength. And the rest of these we'll get into as we go along. But number 3 is lead like your son is watching. And that's the next clip. And it's one of the most powerful ones in the entire speech. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Number 4, master your own flesh first. And number 5 is stop apologizing for your convictions. So let's get into this idea of lead like your son is watching.
All precious souls made in the image and likeness of God. Every parent deserves to know that their son or their daughter that joins our ranks is entering exactly the kind of unit that the Secretary of War would want his son to join. Think of it as the golden rule test. Jesus said, do unto others that's what you would have done unto yourself. It's the ultimate simplifying test of truth. The new War Department golden rule is this: do unto your unit as you would have done unto your own child's unit. Would you want him serving with fat or unfit or undertrained troops? Or alongside people who can't meet basic standards? Or in a unit where standards were lowered so certain types of troops could make it in? In a unit where leaders were promoted for reasons other than merit, performance, and warfighting? The answer is not just no, it's hell no. This means at the War Department, first and foremost, we must restore a ruthless, dispassionate, and common sense application of standards. I don't want my son serving alongside troops who are out of shape, or in combat unit with females who can't meet the same combat arms physical standards as men.
Hopefully you heard him refer to this as the golden rule test. Not do unto others as you would have them do unto you, but do unto your own troops as you would want done unto your own son. Is this the type of military that you would want defending your family? Are these the types of people that you would want leading your son or daughter? See, a lot of people picked up on that part of the speech and they said, oh, he's discriminating against women. He's actually not discriminating against women. If women are qualified, then by all means, they should be in. What he's making the point of is that everyone should be held to the same standard, because in battle, it doesn't matter what race or gender or your sexual preference is. Those bullets, they don't care. Those enemy troops, they're not paying attention to the color of your skin. They're only paying attention to the color of your blood. And everyone bleeds red. And that standard applies to everybody, regardless of rank. Yes, as you get older, as I am, I can't be expected to do the same things that I could do when I was younger. Still, I'm probably in the best shape of my life, but I don't bounce back like I used to. And he's not saying that there's no wiggle room there. He's just saying, make sure you can do the job, because when you got to drag a buddy out of the battlefield who's been hit by a bullet, you want the biggest, strongest badass that you could possibly imagine to be the one that's dragging your ass out of the battle. You don't want someone who can't pull their own weight, much less yours. That's what he's talking about. And as men, we need to apply standards in every single area of our life. We need to apply standards to ourselves. We need to apply standards to our own lives. And the rule that I have found that's been most helpful for me is that the standards that I apply to myself are higher than the standards that anyone else applies to me. And I apply them before anyone else even has to. So who would you want leading your son, and who would you want fighting beside him? That's the question you need to ask. Here we start moving into principle number 4, which is mastering your own flesh first. And he talks about two major principles that he's going to be starting to apply to the military that we can absolutely apply to our own lives. These ones are ones we can all do.
It all starts with physical fitness and appearance. If the Secretary of War can do regular, hard PT, so can every member of our joint force. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are.
You see that standard? He's not compromising on the standard. He's not applying one set of standards to one person and a different set of standards to other people. And he's right when it talks about our physical body, because we should at least look like we're able to handle ourselves. There's this famous clip that goes around I've seen it on Instagram and Facebook. It's this notorious sexual predator who's spending the rest of his life in prison for countless sexual crimes where he molested children. And the interviewer asked him a question about how he selected his victims. He said he wasn't picky about age. He wasn't picky about gender. He wasn't picky about race or any of those things. He said the first thing he looked at was the father and whether or not there was a father there, and if that father looked like he could protect his family. And if that father looked like he was weak, if that father looked like this man could overpower him, then those were the victims that he chose. And that should be a word and a warning to every single one of us, especially as men, to display a certain amount of physical aggression and fitness so that we can scare off people like that. So that we can set the standard for our own sons and for our own families and our own neighborhoods and everyone around us. We should be badasses. Every single one of us should be some level of physically fit. We should be able to protect our own at all costs. From here, he goes on to address another little bit touchy and prickly point that a lot of people took issue with, but I think it's hugely important.
Leaders set the standard, and so many of you do this already. Active, guard, and reserve. This also means grooming standards. No more beards, long hair, superficial individual expression. We're going to cut our hair, shave our beards, and adhere to standards. Because it's like the broken windows theory of policing. It's like when you let the small stuff go, the big stuff eventually goes. So you have to address the small stuff. This is on duty, in the field, and in the rear.
Again, this was another thing that a lot of people took issue with. And a lot of people think it's just about him being picky about military standards. It's not. There's multiple reasons why men are required to shave and women are supposed to style their hair a particular way. For one, it's for unity's sake, because they're marching as one army. Because it's not about the individual. It's about the platoon. It's about the unit. It's about men coming together and having a set of standards. It's also just about the simple fact of being disciplined, of taking care of yourself and caring about what you look like. I mean, I'm obviously not saying that every single one of us needs to shave our beard, but we should always strive to look like we care about ourselves. The Bible says that we should do everything to the glory of God, but if we always look like a slob, if we can't seem like we can dress ourselves, if we've got patchy beards and our hair's all messed up, we're not setting the example as Christian men. One thing that drives me crazy, it's actually a pet peeve, is when I go to the grocery store at like 2 p.m. and some dude's walking around in his pajamas at 2 p.m, flip-flops, unshaven, hair all over the place. Now I understand that sometimes you want to be comfortable. Sometimes if it's 2 a.m, you got to run out for a gallon of milk. Maybe you don't get all dressed up, but still have some respect for yourself, because I see those people and I don't have respect for them. But I see some guy who's walking around and he looks like he's jacked and he looks like he's put together. I automatically have a certain amount of respect for that man or woman, if it's a woman, if they're taking care of themselves. But it's the ones that don't look like they're taking care of themselves. I automatically, and call me judgmental, I don't think it's judgmental. So these are the ways that we take care of ourselves. This is the way that we master our flesh first. We get in shape and we keep ourselves looking halfway decent most of the time. One thing we have to understand is that standards aren't oppressive. Standards that's what we use in order to measure up. That's how we get places in the world. Doctors have standards. Airline pilots have standards. Police officers have standards. Teachers have standards. We all have standards, but why are we so afraid of them? That's how we That's how we get places. I don't want someone flying a plane who doesn't know what they're doing. I don't want someone cutting me open in surgery who doesn't know what they're doing. We should all be held to the same standards. Before we go on, I'd like to ask you a favor, that if you're getting anything out of this, please like it down below, drop a comment if any of this is resonating with you, and share it with a friend. This next section is where Mr. Hegseth really starts to hammer at home some of the things that we're battling and facing in the military and in our own daily lives.
Upholding and demanding high standards is not toxic. Enforcing high standards, not toxic leadership. Leading warfighters toward the goals of high, gender-neutral, and uncompromising standards in order to forge a cohesive, formidable, and lethal Department of War is not toxic. It is our duty, consistent with our constitutional oath. Real toxic leadership is endangering subordinates with low standards. Real toxic leadership is promoting people based on immutable characteristics or quotas instead of based on merit. Real toxic leadership is promoting destructive ideologies that are an anathema to the Constitution and the laws of nature and nature's God, as Thomas Jefferson wrote in the Declaration of Independence.
See, there's all this talk about toxic masculinity and toxicity in culture today, but the real toxicity is when we just let everyone get away with anything and everything that they want to, by not holding them to standards, by not holding them to the same standards. You see, when we let one person be able to do one thing, and we let someone else do something completely different, we're promoting a toxic atmosphere where the one person is going to have a resentment towards the other because they're getting away with stuff. But if we're holding everyone to the same standard, then we all know what's expected from all of us. But when the standards are different, no one knows what's going on and everyone's living in chaos. So men, live up to your convictions as men, your manly convictions, your masculine convictions. Hold to them. Don't be afraid of them. Don't apologize for them. And that is number 5, is to stop apologizing for your convictions. And this last part is where Mr. Hegseth's strength really comes into play. Because you see that he's not here to just be an asshole. He's not here to just demand some arbitrary standards because that's what he did. No, his true heart is that he is a man who follows after God. So he doesn't close with more orders. He closes with prayer. He closes with a final charge to his men and to us, because he knows where his true strength really comes from.
A few weeks ago, at our monthly Pentagon Christian prayer service, I recited a commander's prayer. It's a simple yet meaningful prayer for wisdom for commanders and leaders. I encourage you to look it up if you've never seen it. But the prayer, it ends like this. And most of all, Lord, please keep my soldiers safe. Lead them.
That's the heart.
Guide them. Protect them. Watch over them. And as you gave all of yourself for me, help me give all of myself for them. And amen. I have prayed this prayer many times since I've had the privilege of being your secretary. And I will continue to pray this prayer for each of you as you command and lead our nation's finest. Go forth and do good things, hard things. President Trump has your back, and so do I. And you'll hear from him shortly. Move out and draw fire, because we are the War Department. Godspeed.
That speech, when I heard it the other day, just hit me like a ton of bricks. And listening to it and watching those clips of it today again, it's such a strong example of the type of men that we need to be in this country. He's encouraging us. He's pushing us forward. He's calling for us to be strong, to be on the offensive versus the defensive. So that's it, man. That's the charge that he gives us, to go forth and be strong, to set the standard physically, emotionally, spiritually. Because if we lose those things, we lose home, we lose family, and we lose our country. And we lose everything that's worth fighting for in our lives. I hope you got something out of this, because I certainly did. And I would encourage you that if this got you at all, go watch the whole speech. I'll drop a link down in the description below. And again, if you got anything out of this, please like and comment down below and share it with a friend.